everybody. This is Pamela Parrish coming on here for a few minutes to talk to you. I know I sound tired. I don't normally yawn when I get on camera, but I'm not about to do a take 3 of this video. As you can tell, the sun is very bright. I've been trying different angles to try and shoot this, so either way it's not going to work. But I wanted to get on here and talk to you guys about a couple of things. I heard about a couple more deaths in the entertainment industry. One of which was Roy Horn, I think, of Siegfried and Roy, and Little Richard, Little Tutti Frutti, that was prevalent in the 50s. I'm not a fan of either one of those of either one of those guys. But people consider them legends to a certain degree, but as for me, I'm just here to let you know that those people have died. I just couldn't really get into Little Richard's side of things. I always thought he was way out, and if you thought Elton John was bad, I think that Little Richard was far times worse because he couldn't really be true to himself. He may have left the rock and roll scene and became a, quote, Christian, but, he says you're not born gay. Then what the hell are you, pal? He may be a legend, but I always thought he was a bit of a stuck-up little prick. As for Siegfried and Roy, I have never really gotten into that either. Anything that involves animals, I consider it cruelty to animals for performance purposes. No animal should be made to perform for people. Especially like in circuses and stuff like that. I've heard about bad conditions in certain circuses and people mistreating the animals, and it isn't fair. It isn't fair to them to be made to perform for a human public. I think that animals like lions, tigers, and bears should be in a sanctuary where they could roam free and not have the fear of being persecuted or killed. But that's just my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. And no, there will be no voting on this video. I don't got time for that. And I won't have time to answer emails over the coming days. I'm trying to get my leg healed up because I think when I went outside earlier in the week, I leaned up over my front steps to get a package. Because if I try to go down my front steps at my house, my ankles don't fare so well. So I go out through the back, go through the garage, get in my wheelchair, and go get the mail, but certain packages that are too big to fit in my mailbox, the postal carrier likes to lay things flat on the stoop and leave it. And I can't really step out my door anymore because my ankles are so bad. I think it's either the change in weather or I have really bad arthritis. And it's getting to be a real pain in the padded ass. So I'm kind of dealing with that. And the lack of things to do, like watching stuff on Amazon. I've been having a lot of problems with that. And my internet has been giving me trouble the last 2 days. Last night I had to call it a night when my internet kept going up and down. And I wasn't able to play much in the way of music. I wasn't able to look up much on the internet due to the fact that the internet kept going up and down. And it's just been one big thing after another. And I'm doing the best I can to keep busy, but I think part of me is bored, and I think the eggs are starting to kick in and put me to sleep. I am sleepy, and I think I'm going to go to bed early tonight. I know I was going to go out here and clean dishes, but I'm just too tired. I'm going to call this video a night. I know it's super short, but I am tired. I'm baked. But over the next 3 to 4 days, we are heading into the 10th tomorrow. Over the next 2 days, I want you guys to respect my father because he would have been 85 years old on the 12th. So on Tuesday, he would have been 85 years old. I miss my dad every day. I don't want to make a big spectacle about my dad until the date of his birthday. So if I get on that date, I'll talk about him. And if I don't make it online, just give me the space I need to have my own quiet time on it. I may or may not get on that date to talk about my dad. It just depends on how I'm feeling. But for the time being, I think I'll leave this as a short video. And I wanted to let you know what was going on in terms of the entertainment industry losing two more. Roy of Siegfried and Roy has passed, and Little Richard has passed. But like I said, I never could get into those acts, especially with Siegfried and Roy. I was never really able to go out to Vegas. But I think if they use animals in their acts in order to perform, I have no desire to ever go and see a show where animals are being made to perform for an audience. Because I think things like circuses and shows like Siegfried and Roy are somewhat cruel and unusual punishment for animals. Because I believe wild animals like lions, tigers, and bears should be free to roam and graze and live their lives and not be forced into a life of performing. And then I heard about Little Richard passing away. The guy was 87. He was born in 1932, and he was a gay African American, whether he wants to admit it or not. Whether he wanted to admit it or not, I stand corrected. But as a singer, I'm sure he was good in his day, but I just never really listened to his music. And it's not because he was black, okay? I just couldn't get into his music. I would rather listen to people like Fats Domino and Chubby Checker and some of the other artists of that time. Even Tammy Terrell and Marvin Gaye were the staples of the early 60s. So, yeah. But I will admit, people like Little Richard, Mickey Dolenz, Gary Busey, the actor, Kenny Rogers, the singer, Fred Savage, Sally Field, and Meryl Streep, and others have gotten together for a charity single called Voices That Care. And like I said on the video for that, it doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on in terms of war. Somebody has to stand up and support our troops. Good or bad, right or wrong, they are on the front lines every day that this country survives to live another day. Let's put it that way. Our boys are on the front lines each day that we live, protecting our rights to the land of the free and the home of the brave. Isn't that the truth? Or do you want to follow Trump's example and turn it into a martial law? Well, I, for one, am not going to have it turn into a martial law. So, yeah. And before I close this video out, I want to address something that I did on one of my other videos. Something about addressing a scumbag who called me a coward because I don't go out in public because of my disability. The guy asked me why I didn't go out of my house because I don't want to have to rely on my brother to take me anywhere. And to go on a box bus, I would have to have $3.50 each way. I could go for my appointments, that is no problem. But having to wait to be picked up, that could be a bit unnerving, especially when you got COVID-19 floating around in your general vicinity and you don't know who has it or who doesn't. And I'm not willing to sit there and wait for hours should the bus decide to run late on me. I can't do that. And I'm not willing to risk my brothers any more than they already have over the past week. One, for my brother to get ready for this sabbatical, and my twin brother coming over and bringing me a gift and some balloons for my birthday. I don't want to have them exposed anymore to what could possibly happen. And yes, Red, White, and Boom has been canceled in my area for this calendar year. But as I said, information is changing all the time. They're saying there are many variants of coronavirus, that it's always mutating. So, the scientists are doing what they can to help clear this matter up. And I don't listen to anything that the orange rump roaster has to say because we all know he talks out of his ass. And as to Mike Pence, the hell with that guy. Joking about carrying a fake box. A box with no PPE in it. And it did happen. They had him on camera joking about carrying in an empty box that was supposed to be full of personal protective equipment for nurses at a nursing home. And they were joking about it. And I said on my Facebook the other night, people are dying from this COVID-19. And people like Pence thinks it's a big joke. Well, to me, it isn't a joke. We are talking about human lives. But the boomerang on this is that members of Trump's team now have it, and parts of Trump's team, or Pence's team, still have it. Let me try that again. The boomerang effect on their foolishness in terms of the box with no PPEs is that Pence found out that a member of his team has the COVID-19, and Trump has also found out that the member of his team now has COVID-19. It's called the boomerang effect. And it's going to come back on them, and when it hits them, they will wish that they were gone. I've heard some terrible things about this COVID-19. The pneumonia, the blood clots, and other things that have been happening to our kids that have this. Some type of side effect, and parts of your body, like your toes or your legs, are looking purple due to clots. I don't want this COVID-19. I know a lot of you don't want it. The only thing I could tell you people is to keep practicing your social distancing, wash your hands as much as possible, and keep in contact with your family through FaceTime. And that's all I'm going to say on that for tonight. Have a good evening, and if I don't get on by the 12th, you have to understand, you're going to respect my father. She's taking a day of radio silence to honor her father on his birthday. It's never easy for me to deal with his birthday every year and not have him here. And you guys will probably all say, well, why don't you go to his gravesite? The thing is, he doesn't have a gravesite. I have his ashes and my mother's ashes in my house, in their bedroom. They haven't been buried anywhere. If anything, I'll have them buried with me. If I were to pass away, say, tomorrow or 10 or 15 years down the line, I would want my mom and dad's ashes buried with me in Myrtle Beach, because that's where I want my last rites and my last either cremation or a burial. They could cremate me and scatter us all in the ocean for all I care. But my parents are here, but I have their ashes. They aren't buried anywhere. And each year about this time, I always try to get on and talk about my mom or my dad. And you will respect my father, because he was my rock. He was the one that said, if you had something to say, you better say it. If something's bothering you, fight back. If somebody's bothering you, fight back. You don't need your damn hand held. You're old enough now, you can stand up for yourself. And my dad once told me that maybe I should consider being a politician. And I said, no, I wouldn't want that kind of stress on me. I don't know anything about Politico. And after what I've seen in the Oval Office, I would probably be fired outright for being a person with morality and, loving humanity. Whereas Trump and Pence do not. Well, gang, I'm going to get off and get out of the sun. It's driving me crazy. And I want to get in bed at least by 7 o'clock. So have a good night. And I'll get back on sometime around the 12th or the 13th. And we'll discuss my father then. But until then, you users are going to respect my father. So no voting will be allowed on this particular video. Or videos in the future. So that's it. If you're not going to respect me, then you can leave. So, after all, my dad was my dad, and he went to fight for this country. Remember that. Keeping the planes flying, when things got scary. That's the job of an Air Force man. That is the job of a Navy man. That's the job of the Army and the Navy. Here's to the wings of liberty that have never lost a feather. And may the colors of America never run. Think about it. Have a good night, everybody, and I will talk to you here in a couple of days. Time for me to hit the bed. Good night, and I'll talk to you soon.